Welcome everyone. Today we are going to learn about brain, the blood supply of the brain, how to dissect out brain during autopsy, and what are the common autopsy pathology related to the brain. We will be learning one by one. First, going to the blood supply of the brain. We know the continuous blood supply to the brain is of utmost importance. Why? Because the nervous tissue is too delicate and it cannot bear anoxia beyond 3 minutes. Coming to the arterial supply of the brain. There are two systems. The total arterial supply to the brain is by the two vertebral artery and the two internal carotid artery. It is the branches from this vertebral artery and internal carotid artery that join together to form a beautiful structure. That is our circle of Willis. It is the circle of Willis and its branches that supplies the whole brain. So we will be seeing the origin, the cause and the branches of these arteries and how it forms the circle of Willis. First, coming to the vertebral artery. From where it originates? We all know from the heart arises the aorta and the arch of aorta. So the vertebral artery originates from the first part of the subclavian artery on each side. In the image here, the right vertebral artery originates from the right subclavian artery and the left vertebral artery originates from the left subclavian artery. After originating, coming to its course, it runs till the sixth cervical vertebra. When it reaches the sixth cervical vertebra, it enters through the foramen transversum and passes upwards till the first cervical vertebra, that is our atlas vertebra. Then it reaches posteriorly to the arch of the atlas vertebra. From there, it enters the cranium through the foramen magnum. So the vertebral artery enters the cranium through the largest foramen, that is the foramen magnum. After reaching there, it enters the subarachnoid space and finally it reaches on the ventrolateral aspect of the medulla oblongata. So this is the cause. Coming to the branches. The branches of vertebral artery include, the first branch is posterior spinal artery. This is the posterior spinal artery. We have two posterior spinal artery, each on both sides. Then coming to the largest branch, that is the pica artery, that is the posterior inferior cerebellar artery. It is the largest branch of vertebral artery. It is having a tortuous course and it passes between the root of hypoglossal vagus and glossopharyngeal nerve. Where it supplies this pica artery, finally it supplies the cerebellum. Before that, during its course, it supplies the medulla, the lower part of the pons, and it also reaches the cavity of fourth ventricles and supplies the choroid plexus in the fourth ventricle. And finally, it reaches the cerebellum. So the posterior spinal artery, then the pica artery, then we have the anterior spinal artery. From the both sides unite to form a single anterior spinal artery. Then we have smaller branches, the medullary arteries as well as the meningeal arteries. So these are the 5 main branches of the vertebral arteries. So what happens to this vertebral arteries? The vertebral artery from the both sides unite together to form the basilar artery. Where it unite? At the lower part of the pons. This is the pons. At the lower end of the pons, it unite together to form the basilar artery. This is the basilar artery. Here you can see this is the base of the brain, this is the brainstem, this is the pons. At the lower part of the pons, the two vertebral arteries join together to form the basilar artery. Coming to the basilar artery, I already told you its union is by the formation is by the union of the two vertebral artery. Here you can see this is the pons and at the lower part of the pons it unite together to form the basilar artery. And where it passes, it lies in the median groove in the pons. This median groove is also called as cisterna pondus. In that it lies and it is having a very short course, and at the upper border of the pons it divides together to form the terminal branches, that is the posterior cerebral artery that contribute to the circle of Willis. So vertebral artery join together to form the basilar artery, and at the upper part of the pons it divides into two terminal branches, that is the PCA, that is posterior cerebral artery. Coming to the branches of the basilar artery. What are the branches? The first one is the anterior inferior cerebellar artery. We already learned the pica artery is a branch of vertebral artery, but anterior inferior cerebellar artery is a branch of basilar artery. So it supplies the anteroinferior aspect of the cerebellum, that is the largest branch. Here you can see this is the Ica artery. Then after that it gives smaller branches called as the labyrinthine artery. This is also another branch that supplies the internal ear and it accompanies the vestibulocochlear nerve. Then coming to the third branches, the small branches, these are called as pontine arteries. Small branches called as pontine artery. Then we have two superior cerebellar arteries. These two are the superior cerebellar arteries, and the two terminal branches that I already told you, that is the posterior cerebral arteries that contribute to the circle of Willis. So this comes the basilar artery, formed at the base of the pons. Then it divides into two terminal branches at the upper part of the pons. So vertebral artery and basilar artery. Let's see the posterior cerebral artery. It gives central branches as well as the cortical branches. These are the central branches. Here you can see the central branches. It pierces the ventral surface of the brain and forms the posterior perforated substance. It supplies mainly the midbrain. Then you can see the cortical branches like temporal branches, the occipital branches. Then we have the calcarine branches and the posterior choroid artery also. These are the branches of the posterior cerebral arteries. Here you can see, once again revise it. The two vertebral arteries join together at the base of the pons to form the basilar artery. This basilar artery lies on the pons, and at the upper end of the pons it divides into two terminal branches, that is our posterior cerebral artery. Here completes the vertebral system.